Today we're in Frederick, Maryland, and we're going to be turning this old pond into this.
Here is the old pond we're going to be ripping out all the plastic, moving all these boulders, and we're going to be enlarging the size. We're also going to be putting a waterfall far right side of this pond, and so that way we can capture some viewpoints. We got a really nice deck hang out here, and then I believe this is a sunroom over here. As you're sitting right here on this deck chair, we want to be able to look out, see that waterfall right in here, and then also be able to get that really nice, relaxing sound here.
Hey, it's Mike from Oasis Water Gardens. From backyard ponds to breathtaking waterfalls, I'll show you the art of bringing natural beauty right to your home.
We are on top of a very steep hill on this one. We have our delivery driver coming with the rock delivery. We're staging our boulders and mulch and everything over here. We're gonna have this little hill to bring everything up as we build the pond up on the top of the hill.
To get all our deliveries to right here where we needed them, they needed to come up a steep half-a-mile driveway. Not only was this driveway long and steep, but it was relatively narrow, so we could breathe a sigh of relief when the delivery driver had no problem getting everything where we needed it. We were extremely appreciative and made sure to give him a big tip. While this was all going on, we were taking out a lot of the old boulders and plants and the old plastic shell of the pond to prep for our excavation. In order to start that excavation, we needed to take the long journey to get this excavator from the bottom of the driveway to the backyard, start digging this pond.
These things only move a couple miles an hour, so we are just slowly snailing our way up this hill.
Right now, we're moving this electrical box, which was going to be in the way if we left it where it was. It was going to be almost impossible to hide it on the front edge of the pond. So we talked to the homeowner. He had no problem with us rerunning this box to a new location while we dug the new pond.
All right, we got the power box dug up. We dug up the conduit and ran it back underneath the deck so it's out of the way for this project. You can see the power box is right in here. We dug it up, and now here's the conduit coming out. We'll be able to bring it right to the back side of the berm where it's going to be a lot easier to disguise. And now we're going to remark this and bring the shape in a little bit more in the front here so we get a little more of a curve to this front edge. We're going to just be bringing the pond a little bit this way.
Because of the slope that we were working on here, it was very important to take our time and make sure we marked it out in the perfect position. This allowed us to minimize the amount of grade change within this pond. Once we sprayed it out, we go around one more time with our tape measures and make sure that everything is measuring correctly.
We're going around now and we're shooting grade. We're going to find the highest point and the lowest point for our marked out area, and then we can decide where the water level is going to be best and adjust all of our grades as we dig according to that. So this should be our lowest point here, and we're going to see the difference in grade between that highest point up here and what's going to be the lowest point down here. Water level is at 4 foot 3.5 inches. We're going to want this waterfall to be 18 inches above water level. It's going to work best with the grade here, so that puts us where? 2 foot 10. So we got the laser set to 2 foot 10 inches, and now we're going to start digging in to set that biofalls so that it's exactly where that 2 foot 10 mark is, which is going to be 18 inches above water level.
Getting this set to the perfect height before we start digging the pond is very helpful, because then we can take all the extra dirt that we're excavating and build it around that biofalls for a
We
berm.
like to actually mark out on our laser some of the different spots. So this is going to be the first shelf excavation that's 1 foot underwater. Down here, we got water level. Here, this is the waterfalls, so this is the height of that biofalls there. And then once we get that first shelf marked in, we'll put another foot up, and that'll be our 2 foot depth.
When you're working on a slope like this, your laser is your best friend, and it really pays off to put some time in at the beginning to mark everything out. Your eye can really deceive you, and so it's really important to rely on the laser or any other kind of level to make sure you're getting everything dialed in exactly right. As we're finishing this first 1 foot shelf, taking all that extra dirt, and we're putting it on all the low spots here. So the back side of this pond was low. We needed to create a little more dirt around that biofalls to hide it. Right back side of the pond was also very, very low. So we're taking all that dirt that which we're going to need later to get everything looking level.
All right, we are now down in our 2 foot section of the pond. It's going to be 2 feet behind undergrade. We got this area here dug out for the fish cave. We're going to be putting our road pipe in there. This is probably about 2 feet from here to here, just straight up. What we'll do is come in and dig this out about 8 to 10 inches so that we don't have quite as far a vertical drop here, and then we can push the rocks out this way, which is going to make it look a little bit smoother.
Here, we're setting the skimmer on this pond, and I cannot stress to you how important the laser was in this situation. We set it to where we thought was sort of close by eye. We shot it with the laser and realized it was way too low. We had to bring it up about 6 inches to get it to actually where the water level would be hitting the correct spot on the skimmer. After that, we put our geotextile underlayment down and then our EPDM liner.
Guys are going around now, pulling all the tension out of the liner. We have a hose to fill this thing up. Supposed to get some thunderstorms tonight. We want to make sure that this pond is not empty. All right, we're back for day 2 on this project. Yesterday, we got the pond excavated. We got our plumbing in and glued up, biofalls, skimmer. We got the liner in and the underlay. So today, we're gonna start some of the rocking in. We're gonna stage all of our boulders. We'll bring them all around the sides here on our 1-foot shelf. We'll take some of our Delaware 5-8s that are in here. We'll get these all staged over here, and then we can start building the bottom shelf in the pond.
Taking the time to stage a bunch of our rocks that we're going to need for building this bottom wall really saves a lot of time in the long run as we're sitting in the hole. Instead of having to get in and out to get a rock that you need, it's all staged right where you need it, so you can really speed through this thing. We're also taking a lot of our buckets of the 3/4 gravel, and we're using those to backfill around any gaps. This will really lock everything in tight and ensure that this is really stable over the years to come. You'll see we don't like to use any of our big character boulders down here in the bottom, as they won't really be seen too much underwater.
We got the entire bottom section of the pond rocked in. So what we're doing right now, we're gonna strap all of our boulders up. We're gonna leave them strapped up, staged up here. Then we can drive the excavator back up the hill, and we'll be able to kind of grab them and set them from up there.
We have about 20 of our endless loop straps, which is what we use to set these boulders. This allows us to take all of those boulders, set them up on this hill, and leave them strapped up, so we do not have to be strapping these multiple times, and it will make it very easy to set these in the pond when needed.
All right, so we got all of our big boulders staged alongside this hill. Be able to reach pretty much all of the big ones that we're gonna be setting first and get them all set in the pond where we're gonna need them. Since this property is on a mountain here in Frederick, there's actually some really nice rock all over the property. Since we have this huge hill that we're gonna need to retain on the back side of the pond, we're actually harvesting a few of them right here from the yard.
Sort of. Can't bring it up too much.
It's hard to capture the size of something like this on camera, but needless to say, this is about the maximum that this 10,000 pound excavator will lift.
We just pulled this one out, probably a good 2,000 pounds. It's about as heavy as that machine is gonna lift.
We found this other one that looked like it would be an awesome retention boulder paired with the other one we just dug out along that back side of the pond.
All right, we got both these boulders moved. Look at how massive these things are.
We were happy to get these out, and we knew we had some great stuff for the retention on the back side of the pond. And now it's our favorite time. It's time to set some of these waterfalls. For any of you that have watched some of our builds before, we always like to build the waterfall first when we're setting this top section of the pond.
We are setting some of our waterfall boulders, left framer, right framer, and then we'll end up working a weir stone in between those. The weir stone is going to be what the water actually falls off. We always want to check water level on these before we finally set them. Go ahead and have Matthew shoot with the laser our water level. Okay, so there's water level on this one. That's going to give us about an 8 to 9 inch drop coming into the pond from there. We'll end up putting 2 more framers in this area, and we're going to have another waterfall coming out of our biofalls there, and then that 8 to 9 inch drop coming into the pond this way. All right, we got our first drop set coming into the pond. This is going to be about 10 inches coming from here into water level. All right, right now we're going to be doing our silicone seals onto the biofalls and onto the skimmer. We want to make sure that the liner is nice and dry and clean. We just wiped it with a rag. We're also going to do the same on the plastic. So we're just going to come in with a clean rag, knock off any dirt or any moisture that's on there. Okay, so we've taken the liner, and now we have a nice flat area where that face plate for the skimmer is going to be coming on. And we've also folded it down on the bottom here. If the skimmer ever has to be resealed, there's actually plenty of liner that we can pull that up and do a reseal. Okay, next, we're going to take the face plate. There's 3 screw hole openings on the top, and then we have these guide pins right here. So we're going to take those guide pins, put push them through. And I'm gonna actually hold this in place while Ethan does a puncture through those. Right now we have our guide pins through the liner. These are actually gonna be above water level. Water level is gonna be a few inches below those in the pond. And then we're gonna take the faceplate. Faceplate goes over here, and that's gonna line up all of the rest of the holes. One by one, we're gonna puncture the hole and put a screw through here. But first, we actually have to do our silicone seal. Okay, so we're gonna go around now, and we're gonna apply a bead of silicone around the entire area. So now we're gonna line up those guide screws again. Now that we got our silicone behind it, we're gonna line up the faceplate, making sure that the 3 holes are on top. Looks good from there. And then we're gonna take a small screwdriver and puncture a hole through the liner. Right here, we have a puncture right through this screw hole here. And then we're gonna go ahead and put our screw in. And now we're gonna come and tighten this down. Not fully tight right now, we're just gonna get it pretty close to hold this faceplate in place. Then we're gonna do this screw hole right on this side, then the faceplate will be held in place and it's gonna make it really easy to finish the rest of this. All right, so Ethan's gonna go around now and repeat the same process with the rest of these holes, and then that's gonna give us that watertight seal coming through the skimmer.
So now we have the skimmer and the biofalls sealed up correctly. Everything's looking watertight. And that allows us to start putting a few more of these frame rocks around to really get that second tier on our waterfall drop and make sure that everything is pairing together perfectly.
Waterfall is set and looking pretty good. We're gonna tweak these boulders a little bit. They're not quite perfect yet, but we got them in the general place that we want. Right now, what we're actually doing is we're taking some of our big interaction stones and we're digging a little spot in right here. We're gonna have a nice curve in the water coming through this way. So we needed to actually recess that boulder about 5 to 6 inches this way. So we're gonna be setting a nice big interaction stone right here. This is gonna be perfect for anybody walking up to the pond, something you can sit with your feet in the water, feed the fish off.
Building a pond in a sloped area is much more difficult than in a flat area. And what we're doing right now is we're building up a base for this interaction stone. We already shot where the water was gonna be with the laser. And so that base is going to allow us to put that stone in the perfect spot in relationship to where the water level is going to be later on when we fill the pond up. Now we're repeating the same process with every single boulder that we set around the pond. And we're starting with some of the lowest spots first, as this will allow us to berm up and get this low spot graded in correctly.
We've buttoned up some of those waterfall details. I'm going to walk you through the path of the water that we're looking to achieve with this one. Some water that comes around this side and gives us a little bit of a drop in front of that. Coming up, we have a drop that's actually going to be facing kind of the opposite direction. This drop is going to be facing this way, and then this drop right here is actually going to be facing that way. So we'll have a nice sheet that comes out here, it drops down and then takes a turn and comes down into the pond. Still have to finish up the rocks in the rock tray. This is the biofalls, so this is gonna disguise all this stuff. I always like putting some plants in here too. That always looks better than just rocks, but eventually we're gonna get all of this stuff filled in and have some rocks and plants so that the entire plastic is hidden.
We're in the process now of taking some more of those big machine set boulders and we're filling in any gaps that we still have along the edge of the pond. We really want to make sure that we can still maintain a really nice shape and a nice curve to the pond with these. So sometimes there's a little bit of trial and error to make sure they're fitting with everything else perfectly.
Yesterday, we got a lot of our bigger rocks set in the pond. We have a few more that we're gonna be doing now. We're gonna start out by digging out a small area. This was quite a bit higher than a lot of the other areas. So we're gonna be digging that out so that we can actually layer our boulders a little bit coming out of the pond here. And then we're gonna be taking a lot of the gaps between some of these bigger ones, filling them in with some smaller boulders and river stone, and getting the rest of this pond dialed in.
Taking the time to dig out a section like this really adds to the layering of the boulders and really prevents it from looking way too stacked in one spot, which can really ruin the aesthetic of the entire pond. As we start filling in some of the gaps between these boulders, this pond is really coming to life. It's really starting to feel solid and look really nice, and we can start to see what that finished product is really going to look like.
We got our fish cave tucked away here. You can see we actually have recessed our 10-inch road pipe in there, so that's going to be a nice little hiding space for the fish. It's right on the front side of the pond, so you won't be able to see any of that at all. when you're approaching this pond. We're gonna start foaming this area here. We got the weir stone. We're gonna have a nice big sheet of water coming down over here, which is gonna get uplit from this light right in here. And then we're also gonna have some water that runs around here and shoots out in front. So what we need to do is foam all the gaps in here. We're gonna foam this up, this up, this up, and this up. And then second, we have our second drop here, and we have a few spots that are gonna need to be foamed right back in that area.
Foaming up right now, all these waterfall areas. This is gonna keep all that water coming over our waterfall and weir stones and not getting behind them. Then after that, what we're doing is we're working on the edging of the pond, folding up and hiding that liner edge. And we're also doing a quick rinse down of all the rocks. There's a lot of dirt that are on these rocks coming from the quarry, so we're going to give a quick rinse to flush some of that out.
We did a quick rinse down on all the rocks to try to get as much construction dirt off as we could. Since this one is built on a slope, we're going to want to do our final edging with the pond full, just to make sure we don't leave any low edges anywhere.
As much as I trust the laser, I still want to make sure that we have the pond full. We can check where that water level is, all of these edges of the pond before we're tucking that liner in and setting it in its final place. This ensures that the water level in the pond won't drop over time due to a low edge.
The machine was here along the front, so we're gonna be putting some seed and straw down here to get this grass to grow back. Along the back, you can see we have some nice retaining boulders here help retain this dirt. We have some of our large boulders along this side for retention, and then we're going to be brushing this stuff out, and we're going to throw some grass seed down. Grass will come all the way to the backs of these boulders along here.
If you're in the Maryland area and want help with your dream pond or waterfall, check out our website in the description.